What's up guys? Still in New York. I'm heading home tomorrow, but because I'll be travelling by the time the Austrian Grand Prix preview has to be uploaded, I'm recording it right now. What an amazing place. What an amazing backdrop that is. Unbelievable. Anyway, let me put this down. Check out the lid. That's very cool, isn't it? Anyway, Austrian Grand Prix, let's talk about that, because they're coming thick and fast now, the races. First double header of the season, of course, Austria this weekend. And on paper, the Austrian Grand Prix can look like a relatively simple circuit. It's a really short lap. In fact, it's the shortest lap in terms of time that we have all season. But that doesn't tell anywhere near the picture, because it's a busy lap, and that means it can be quite a tricky lap from a driver's point of view, but also from an engineering perspective as well. It's a technical lap. The first two sectors are really very fast, dominated by long straights, whereas the last sector's a bit slower, a bit more technical. Sorry, that noise is a train going over Brooklyn Bridge behind me. A bit inconvenient, isn't it? Inconsiderate of them. Yeah, so sectors 1 and 2 really fast, perhaps might have some sort of advantage towards Ferrari with their straight line speed advantage they've got. But sector 3, let's just say, much more tight and twisty, much more technical. And I actually think that although Ferrari may well have a bit more of an advantage than they maybe had last time out here, I still think this circuit is going to be dominated by Mercedes. I just think their package is too good. I think that over the course of the lap, I still think they're going to have the best overall car. Anyway, let's hope it's closer. What are the challenges then? Well, tyres is the first thing. Pirelli have brought the same sets of tyres, or the same compound choices of tyres that we had in France. So that's the middle of the Pirelli range for this year. And actually what they've done, actually interestingly, every single one of the top 6 drivers, I think, so all 3 teams, and each of those 3 teams' 2 drivers at the top of the table, have all made different tyre selections, albeit not by very much, some of them, but they've all made different selections. That doesn't happen very often, so they will all be trying slightly different things throughout the practice sessions to work through those tyres to work out what they need. And actually, when it comes to tyres, they are quite tricky around here, because it's a circuit that is dominated by right-hand corners, and that means the left-hand side of the car in terms of tyres is being worked incredibly hard all the way around the lap. Those are the ones that get all the energy put through them. They're the ones you've got to look after in terms of temperature build-up throughout the entire lap. The surface of the track is not a particularly abrasive one. That's really noisy. Let's turn this way. The surface of the track is not a particularly abrasive surface. It's actually really, really smooth. And so in terms of overall wear, not really too much of an issue for tyres. However, as I said, almost all of the corners are right-hand corners. So all the lows going through the left-hand side of the car until you get to turns 5 and 6. Turns 5 and 6 are the only 2 significant left-handers of the track, and they are also the 2 most demanding corners of the track on tyres. Massively high energy corners, really difficult, fast, high speed corners where you massively need an awful lot of lateral grip going through those. As a driver, you need to be able to put a huge amount of trust that you're going to get the grip you need out of the tyres through those 2 corners. They're 2 corners that can make up a significant chunk of your lap time, or more importantly, could certainly lose a significant chunk of your lap time if you get it wrong. And the reason you might get it wrong is because you're spending the whole lap turning right. Until you get to that point, you turn up at turns 5 and 6 with the tyres on the right-hand side of the car that haven't really been worked very much. You turn up to that point and they're cold, or relatively cold. And that can be a real issue. And the reason that's a real issue is because as soon as you dump all of that energy through those right-hand side tyres, ask an awful lot of them in those two corners, out of the blue, when they haven't been asked to do very much over the course of the rest of the lap, then you suddenly build massive surface temperature, whereas it doesn't have the core temperature in the tyre, and you can very quickly get graining. And if you get graining, rapid graining like that, the surface of the tyre just rolls away, you lose massive amounts of grip, and you end up on the outside of the circuit with a whole handful of lap time just disappeared before you even had a chance to work out where it went. There's another train. So it's really crucial and really difficult to try and keep the tyres on the right hand side, to keep some temperature in them, and that's not hard, that's not easy to do. So the engineers will try and help with that in terms of the settings. So loud. The engineers will try and help with some settings of the car by perhaps giving some kind of compliance in the suspension to allow a little bit more movement in the tyre or through the suspension to the tyre than you might normally otherwise get, just to try and generate some heat. You can do some work with brakes and brake cooling and what gaps you open up, slot gaps you might open up in your brake drum on the right hand side, to maybe bleed a bit more temperature from the brakes through into the right hand side tyres, just to keep them alive, because it's such a crucial part of the lap. So a really tricky thing to do, and the guys that do that best will be the ones who come out on top, and certainly the ones who are able to deliver the maximum lap time. Downforce is probably around medium, because like most places it's a compromise, but here you've got these long straights, but you also need to have the downforce through the corners, and because we're actually at quite high altitude for this race, 700 meters, nowhere near Mexico City standards, but still much higher than normal, and therefore we have less dense air at that altitude, and therefore the amount of downforce that's available is less than normal. So you'll find roughly medium downforce levels on the car to compensate for that. That same altitude issue, I guess, gives cooling problems because you're getting less air going through the cooling ducts of the car. So you'll find that actually over the course of Friday and then Saturday, teams are working really hard to try and work out what they need in terms of cooling. I think it's going to be a hot weekend anyway, ambient. Track surface temperature is going to be very hot too. So you'll often find on Saturday morning teams almost crudely cutting holes in bodywork, opening out the existing cooling ducts just to get as much airflow through there as they can. Of course you don't want too much, because if you get too much airflow going through the cooling systems, first of all your temperatures can drop below the optimum, but secondly that can increase the drag on the car at a circuit where top speed along those straights is going to be crucial. So there are a number of challenges that you really have to get your head around and trying to work through over the course of the Friday practice. Definitely not straightforward. It's a busy lap. It's a short lap in terms of time, because the corners come through at you thick and fast. It's really busy as a driver. You're going from corner to corner very quickly, and there's not much time to sort of relax, which might sound crazy, but people do that. At some circuits like Canada and Monza, the drivers will tend to take a moment to reset themselves mentally, to check the steering wheel switch positions, for example, to take a drink, to change a visor tear off. At circuits like this it becomes a little bit more tricky because the corners come at you so quickly, and also because it's a short lap it can be busy in terms of traffic, and that can be a real problem in the race, in that the race leaders are trying to constantly work their way through back markers. Blue flags will be being waved all the time on Sunday, but also in qualifying, trying to find yourself a gap to go for the fastest lap can be a real issue. So lots of things to contend with at this place, and as I say, it's not as straightforward as it might look when you look at the circuit on a bit of paper and on a drawing. So I'm not sure who's going to come out on top. I still think Mercedes are going to be the ones to beat here. I think it might come back towards Ferrari a little bit in terms of these straights and the high speed sector 1 and 2. But I think over the course of the lap it's still going to favour Mercedes. Lots of corners, and they're so quick through the corners. There are some slower corners. In fact, there's a nice mix of slow, medium and a couple of high-speed corners through this track as well. And Mercedes just have the best all-round package. So it's going to be very difficult for somebody to come up trumps and beat them, I think. Ironically, this is a circuit that doesn't really suit Red Bull. You know, it's their home track, it's named after them, and yet the circuit traditionally just doesn't suit their car. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on this time around with these new cars and new tyres. Anyway, loads to look forward to. I have done a lap back on the simulator back at home, so I'm going to try and pop that in now with a little bit of commentary over the top. Hopefully that will give you a little bit of a clearer picture. I can't overstress how steep some of the hills are. I ran around this track last year. It's a tough one. Getting to the top of some of those hills is not easy. I've been round on the skateboard, and that is just about meeting its match, trying to climb to the top of there. But it's a cool circuit, it's in a beautiful setting, and I hope we can manage to get some kind of interesting race out of it. I think we will. Look, we just come away from France, which was an absolute bore fest, if we're really honest about it, wasn't it? So I think we can only improve from there. So let's give it a chance. Let's not write Formula 1 off just yet. We've been lots of talk about fixing F1. I've been talking about it myself. But actually there's lots of great things about Formula 1, and let's hope we get to see a few more of them this weekend. I'm also, of course, giving away a prize, as I always do, from the gpbox.com, so thank you very much to them. Thank you very much to Alex Stutchbury, who has provided this week's prize. Some brilliant artwork. If you are a Max Verstappen fan, stay tuned till after I show you this lap around the circuit, and I'll show you what it is. Right, here we go then, a lap of Spielberg, flat out down the start-finish straight, pit lane to the right-hand side, and I'm going to slow it down just here because look what happens. We've gone downhill, now we start rising uphill, the car compresses, and we late on the brakes, turning in right, and then it's hard on the throttle for the long climb, and I promise you it is a long climb. But look at that grass either side of the track, love that. Up to the tallest, the highest part of the circuit then, really late on the brakes. The incline really allows you to brake late there before you turn into a slightly blind apex. That's the part where the two Mercedes came together, if you remember, and then it's back downhill. Massive speed down this point, a little kink to the left-hand side that you can't really see as you approach it, and then a bang on the brakes, turning right, hugging the right-hand side of the circuit round here before we get to these two left-hand corners that I was telling you about. The right-hand tyres cold at this point, and now you're asking all sorts of them, clinging on for dear life, desperately trying not to overheat the surface. Left again through here, running wide over the curbs and flat. Downhill again. We're coming all the way down. Look, blind crest over here into a braking zone, crossing over, pit lane entry. That can cause problems in the past. And then flat out, run wide as we come down towards the lowest part of the circuit, clip the curb on the way in, and then bang, hard on the throttle again. DRS zone, flat out back along the start-finish straight. Right, Alex Stutchbury, who has a page on the gpbox.com full of amazing artwork, and it is some really cool artwork. I said to you, if you're a Max Verstappen fan, you will want to not miss this one, and you're not, because this is what you could win this week. Look at that. Pretty spectacular, I think you'll agree. It's an awesome bit of artwork. It would look great on your wall. So all you have to do, if you want to win this, it's really simple this week. All I want you to do is, we've done this before, I want you to share this video on Twitter. We're going to go back to Twitter for this week. I want you to share the video on Twitter. Let me just see if Alex is on Twitter. Alex is on Twitter. So all I need you to do, share this video on Twitter, Tag me in it at F1 Elvis, tag at the GP Box in it, and also tag Alex Stutchbury. You will find him at Alex Stutchbury. All linked in the description. All you need to do is share the video on Twitter. If you want to say something lovely about the piece, then just do so. He'd appreciate it, I'm sure. And also, Alex has very kindly offered for you guys this weekend, he is going to drop the price of all of his motorsport artwork. So if you don't win, but you still like the look of something, just go check it out. You get yourself an absolute bargain. So go to Alex Stutchbury's page at thegpbox.com. I will link everything in the description. All you need to do, go there, check out his stuff. He's got some really cool bits of art. So go and have a look when you get 5 minutes, and it will all be at reduced price this weekend. So get yourself some kind of bargain to hang on your wall. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Let's hope the Austrian Grand Prix is a spectacular one. I will probably be in the air by the time this thing uploads tomorrow, but I hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you very soon. Ta-da.